Next up, we'll touch on skirmishers and heavy cavalry. Of course, going to be starting with pistoliers, myself playing against Flying Taco. This is a replay I've been sitting on for a while, but decided this is an appropriate time to share it. For pistoliers, going to be up front, we've got Boris and an Amber Wizard for leadership, 5 spearmen, and 4 Reichsguard. Reichsguard being arguably one of the worst heavy cavalry in the game right now, but still quite good. Definitely one of my favorite looking cavalry units, certainly. Get back to them in just a minute. Flying Taco's Beastmen got plenty of cavalry as well. A couple of Centaurs, a couple of kind of not quite cavalry. They're like beast cavalry herd things. They're used similarly to cavalry, so we'll just kind of include them in the discussion here with these Razor Gore herds. Taurox leading the way, Brashim and Laura Wild. Plenty of infantry with Gore herds and some Bestigore as well, spearmen. And of course, hounds you could consider sort of like light cavalry, but they actually count as infantry, even though in use they are very much like light attack cavalry with some extra unit models. Pistoliers, in terms of DPS, they're in the upper echelon, similar to like the Javelin Cavalry for Norse and Warriors of Chaos. Shorter range, but incredible DPS with double shot and very accurate fire with fast missile speed as well. Means they're great for shooting flying units. Here we're just going to kind of harass the flanks here, try and draw out and sort of break up this advance. Flying Taco does have a significantly larger force than me here, so I'm going to have to try and concentrate as I get a little bit of a lag spike there. My forces all into one location and try and break his units up and, you know, take favorable engagements. So to that effect, we're going to somewhat overcommit here on Pistoliers. Dive in all my Pistoliers with a quick charge from Boris to terror route away these Spearmen. Unfortunately, I'm going to get hit by a very nice Traitorkin. Beautiful response there from Flying Taco. Going to do a ton of damage to this big blob of Pistoliers. I'll end up losing out a lot of unit models and potential damage, so that's not good right off the bat. But in terms of the rest of the army, Reichsguard pushing forward, this is what I'm talking about, breaking up Flying Taco's advance. Quick charge, hit and run, and then pull back and away. This Spearman, though, definitely should pull back and brace rather than advancing up into these Centaurs and Razor Gores. They're just going to be able to easily overwhelm with infantry support here. And while the Pistoliers pull back over on the far flank there, we're going to get another charge of the Reichsguard up the center. Since the Spearmen kind of get pulled away by the Pistoliers somewhat, Reichsguard just hammer in the center here against the Bestigore. Quick Curse of Honor and a drop from the Amber Wizard. It's going to lead to them hopefully getting terrified. Taurox does rush in response with the Poised Warhounds. They both got hit by the Curse of Honor as well, though. So you can see 29-23 for Taurox stats. Those Bestigore do get terrified, and I kind of, again, overcommit a little bit with Boris there. Boris really should be pushing out in the periphery, trying to keep some of these other more tattered units terrified. But over on this side, Micro my Reichsguard, they are pretty slow, so that I'm not really able to get away from these Centaurs and Bestigore and Spearmen supporting Razor Gore herd. This is a really nasty flank overload here, very dangerous situation. Likewise, Boris takes a few big hits from Taurox, and I've got to pull him back up in the air. Reichsguard continuing to try and pull back and then charge back in, but unfortunately the Centaurs, I mean, 46 charge, perfect vigor as well. The Reichsguard aren't getting tired just yet, but as they get tired, their armor will go down, whereas the Centaurs, you know, perfect vigor, good charge, very light, but still much faster, obviously. They're going to get hammered there on another charge from the Reichsguard. All looking great. Meanwhile, the Pistoliers, despite the damage they took early on, have just kind of been hanging around this periphery. We've managed to get rid of the Warhounds. We're going to come in here and try and clean up, try and claw my way back into this game with the Pistoliers and other mobile units here. Dive for a quick hit on this caster, but Taurox just such a danger to everyone. Curse of Honor doesn't really help me enough. I'm going to have to pull out of that situation. Nice Flock of Doom does hit quite a few various different units. Boris able to come in and terrify away some of the Centaurs, so you can see the Reichsguard actually able to hold up. This is one benefit of Reichsguard, is they're quite tanky, although I do think one buff they could get is having better melee defense. With that hold the line, especially from Boris while he's in the vicinity, that little bit of extra melee defense does help them kind of hold out there. Again, Taurox coming in with the Amber Wizard. The Amber Wizard charging in, trying to get a few cheeky hits, but just taking a ton of damage in response. But here, because I've been able to mostly, I mean, I kind of had a mobility advantage to begin with, but a lot of the Centaurs and Razor Gores are tattered. They're kind of out of control, routing in various places. I can use my cavalry now with the Griffins, try and, again, even this fight out. You can see I've got a ton of units routing here. We're going to keep that terror going as much as possible with both of these Griffins. Unfortunately, the Reichsguard are just not quite enough. They're giving out the ghost at this point, although they did acquit themselves relatively well considering they're in a very disfavorable situation. One of the reasons why Empire Knights are much more popular, because arguably with just more support units and Empire Knights instead of Reichsguard, I could have potentially won some of those engagements. Hard to say. But Pistolier is starting to run out of ammunition at this point. He's chasing the routing units with the Griffins here. As Spearmen try and hold out there in the center, we've got a handful of Reichsguard coming back. They actually do get a little bit of a countercharge in here, break another unit of best scores, but the Ungor Spearmen herd, despite the fact they don't have really good AP, they are going to be a danger, so I'll go ahead and pull away there, see if I can't salvage the last few Reichsguard that remain. The Razorgore herds, even at 70 speed, are faster than Reichsguard 66. That's one of the big downsides of Reichsguard, is they are quite slow. At the same speed as Empire Knights, but, I mean, Knights Blazing Sun, although they are less tanky, they have the magic resistance, less melee defense and armor, though, but they are faster anyway. A little bit of Empire cavalry aside. More Flock of Doom here as we continue to just clean up out in the peripheral any units I can get my hooves on, I guess you could say. The Reichsguard charging here once more, neglecting them. This many Reichsguard, despite the fact there's, 4 units, 3 units technically, they're all very tattered, but they should be able to deal with these Spearmen, especially with a quick tear out from Boris. So again, just clawing my way back in any way I can. This one healthy unit of Bestgore herd is obviously a big danger, and the fact that Torox is basically untouched at this point is really not good. If I could get a good 2v1 with both my Griffins on Torox, we could do quite a bit of burst damage to him and possibly rout him. Although he's going to be immune to psychology with that Blood Greed charged up, which it is currently. A few more Pistoliers kind of just hanging around, so... although things looked very bad initially, I was able to claw things back reasonably well here. Let's see if I can bring it home. Boris is just still chasing those Ungor Spearmen herd. We've got 1 Reichsguard left, 74 kills. And if even one of those Reichsguard ends up paying for themselves, I'll be somewhat happy. But the Pistoliers, the nice thing about missile cavalry in general, of course, is that it's flexible. It can shoot, move to the location it needs to shoot high-value targets. Also, charging, especially light, like skirmish units, units with poor stats, or getting buffs. I mean, with what I've got here, it looks like another Traderkin going to be dropped. That'll pretty much finish off those Pistoliers. But like with the Cursed Von Rare here, although the Pistoliers themselves don't have that great of stats, if we nerf the Gore herds to basically have no stats at all, then ideally they should be able to fight a little bit better in combat. Of course, there's an argument to be made of just dealing damage. Boris and the Ember Griffin making their final charge here. They do manage to get some really nice burst on Torox. Unfortunately, though, as soon as he turns around and starts to punch the Amber Griffin, it's going to fall over in a big hurry. None of my support units really made it into the central fight. I mean, they're all caught up out on the edges here. And the animations of Torox also kind of bail him out as he rolls away and then rolls back in so that he doesn't have to fight both of them at once. Manages to kind of solo. Not quite solo, but you know what I mean. Get rid of the Amber Wizard at the very least without having to fight Boris at the same time. Then gets Boris. And that will be game victory for Flying Taco. A lot of these Razorgore herds, also the mass of them is very critical of keeping the Griffin locked on the ground. Not that I would cycle charge at this point. According to tournament rules, I have to keep my single entities engaged. But very fun game. Well played to Flying Taco. I managed to somewhat deal with the Centaurs, although they still did get pretty good value going after my cavalry here. You can see 1 Reichsguard did actually pay for itself, 92 kills, XP chevrons, that's great. The Pistoliers, despite taking a bunch of damage, did a reasonably decent job. Lots of kill totals, although they didn't get that much damage value. Cleaning up a lot of the tattered units in the late game almost brought me back in. I think if I had, again, maybe trade even like 2 of these out for some more Empire Knights, just take slightly more numbers, I don't know. Extra, 300 points you would save from going down to Empire Knights on all 4 of these. That is, 1,200 points extra. That's quite a bit of, 3 swordsmen, whatever else, I don't know. Various things could help. Regardless, fun game. Centaurs, the Razorgore herds also really good value, just super cost effective. And these sort of monstrous, Cav herd AP units. You've got a few different ones of varying kind of tiers, all the way from the Clever Girls up to, Lions and so forth. All pretty good, relatively cost effective in their given role, usually anti-infantry. But definitely can help against cavalry and against, large flying targets to help pin in, or just generally monsters with that mass. Rest of Flying Taco's build, I mean, best score. One of them we just smash and they don't get any value. The other one pays for itself, so it kind of shows you the difference there. Torok's almost 3,000 value, taking down characters, and really good value also on Traderkins from the Bray Shaman, so good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much more to add to what I have said, other than just to sort of reiterate, yeah, Reiksguard need a buff. Please, CA, like, could give them, like, +3 melee defense even would be significant, just so they're, that much more tanky. But this difference between these two units is not worth 300 points, in my opinion. Like, there would have arguably been better to just take, like, some Free Company support, or, maybe a couple of Flagellants or something, maybe some Archers, Huntsmen. I don't know. With the 1,200 points, it's not that much. It's not like I could take a huge amount of more units. But I guess what I could do is, like, let's see. Yeah, so if we have here these 3, and I just kind of come in and basically more or less do the same build of what I had there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it exactly, but you'll get the idea. Block of Doom, Curse of Onrare. And we've got the 4 Pistoliers and the 5 Spearmen. So, yeah, basically, if I were to cut these Reiksguard here, and instead take 4 Empire Knights, then I have enough to even take a 5th Reiksguard, right? I could even take still 1 Reiksguard and still take 4 Empire Knights for the other 3, or I could come in here, do some other things. Like I said, Free Company, possibly good in this matchup, although they're going to be a little bit vulnerable to getting rushed. I can't take any more Pistoliers, but I could take maybe a War Wagon, and then, unit of Swordsmen or something. Take your pick. Maybe you want to grab an extra character. Maybe you take an Empire Captain or a Warrior Priest. Empire Captain with Hold the Line, just for some extra melee defense, pretty cheap. You could even take them with nothing for 350 or 850, and then I guess we still have enough for a War Wagon, or can only take, 4 Empire Knights, I believe, so take like a grenade launcher or something in here, just some extra DPS. Generally, that you're going to be better off doing that, but if Reiksguard were to get a small buff, like, it really wouldn't be much, like a -50 to 100 cost, or melee defense increase, I really think all of a sudden they would be back in contention. In certain matchups, you'd want to take them over Empire Knights. But anyway, that's my discussion for today. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.